Hello, Sunny Bonani, 7:59 Central African Time. Welcome to BrakeAway League Racing. Welcome to the finale of this season's playoffs as we determine tonight who will take their seat in the top tier of BrakeAway Racing League. Who will stake their claim as a top tier driver to challenge what is sure to be a formidable field in the top tier of the BrakeAway Racing League ladder. What shall we see? I'll tell you what, folks, I am very excited to see whether or not we will be getting some decent action before all is said and done. Cepiso, Billy Hendricks, Thiago Maestro, The Nucho, and it looks like it might be Man Ray who could yet join us. That should be your field to stake their claim on the Lusail International Circuit and to see what sort of action and what sort of results can be delivered. Just to give you a sense, this is the last of 3 playoff races. Cepiso currently tops the playoff standings on 40 points. The Nucho is second on 37. Thiago Maestro missed one race, meaning, by the time he came in, he stormed in to win the second playoff race in Austria. He notched up a total of 25 points. Billy Hendricks also level on points, 25 points. Man Ray is on 13 points, yet to join the lobby, so it's touch and go for Man Ray. Thiago Maestro is in the comments praying for guidance. Do wonder whether or not Thiago, or anyone else for that matter, has managed to put in some time on the simulator. And, time will tell whether or not those prayers will be answered. All of these drivers have 18 minutes to set their times during qualification. During qualifying. If you're brand new to the sport of Formula One, qualifying is fairly simple. The aim of the game is to send that car around the track as fast as you possibly can. And the fastest time means that the driver will qualify as high up the grid as possible. Of course, the driver to start at the very front, that position is known as pole position or P1. And then, the next fastest time will be P2 and thereafter. As you can see in that beautiful overhead shot, we have green lights, green flags. The track is well and truly open for quali business. And for a change, it's Thiago Maestro who's out on the track first, as opposed to Cepiso, who usually wastes no time. But as I say that, the Scarlet Red Ferrari of Cepiso is now currently navigating turn 2. It should be coming into shot, in another camera angle perhaps we will get, as Thiago exits turn 5 and points it in the direction of the braking zone of turn number 6. What sort of times will we see in this playoff race? Sadly, this finale, which was actually meant to take place last week already, but due to a crashed lobby, we could not carry on. This is essentially a second bite at the cherry for all of these drivers. As you can see, Man Ray will make it a complement of 5. Not clear whether or not that Tindo could join. I do believe that is touch and go. Sadly for Tindo, he had not racked up any points over the course of the first 2 races. Tindo on 0 points, Man Ray on 13 points, and Man Ray's target is Billy Hendricks, who currently has 25, as does this man, Thiago Maestro, the McLaren driver who will be the first to set a representative lap, with the likes of Cepiso following closely behind. But Thiago Maestro was the shining light in Austria. Can he set the timing sheet alight here in Qatar? Here we go on the main straight towards turn number 1. Watch that as a major overtaking opportunity in the actual race. But for now, we'll watch to see how Thiago Maestro navigates this first sector. Eases off the throttle there, trying to keep that line steady and straight through the initial sectors. This is turn 5, and he'll try and keep it flat out into or rather 4 and 5, I beg your pardon. Here comes 6, which is the left-hander braking zone. 27.089 is the split at the end of the first sector. So that is something that I'm going to watch very, very closely. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to qualifying. Welcome to the onboard view of Thiago Maestro as he tries to keep it oh so steady. Now on the verge of the braking zone of turn number 10. He nailed the brakes and was fourth gear on the exit of that particular corner. Now setting it blasting down towards turns 12 and taking the final part of this year track. As you can see, he is absolutely flat out. Seventh gear, lifts off the throttle, but Thiago Maestro now completing the second sector is the McLaren driver. What'll it be at the split? The answer is going to be at the end of this second sector. He's already finished it, I beg your pardon. We're just going to watch to see now how the end of the lap is going to go. That was turn 16, the final corner. Now sending it blasting down the main straight. Of course, Cepiso is also going to complete the lap soon after. 121.886 is the benchmark. What can Cepiso do? Here he comes now, down the main straight. And of course, we've got the likes of Nanuccio and Man Ray in the Mercedes yet to set their laps. Cepiso looking to challenge Thiago. Can he? No is the answer. 123.168 means it's daylight between the top two drivers as things currently stand. Thiago Maestro is absolutely sensational at this point. Here comes Nuccio with his answer. Nuccio into turn 1. Nuccio keeping it steady as Cicle says it's such a huge shame that Tindo has load shedding. Would have loved to see what Tindo can do. Cepiso makes way for the Nuccio, who is now driving with gritted teeth. Steely focus, razor sharp focus is the Nuccio as he navigates turns 4 and 5 as cleanly as he possibly can through 6th gear and nails the braking zone. 27.743 at the end of sector 1 is definitely competitive by the benchmarks that we've seen today. So Thiago Maestro, depending on the sectors 2 and 3 that the Nuccio can pull out, might be pulling his hair out a little bit, might be stressed, might be biting those fingernails. But it's a long way to go as we see the Nuccio have a slight snap on the exit of turn 10, rather as he was making his way through that particular corner. Here he comes now with a 55.679 split at the end of the second sector. Flat out through this sequence of right-hand corners down to 6th gear for the Nuccio as he's about to complete his push lap. Oh no! He was on the limit, but he went completely over. And just in time for him to completely abandon that push lap and come limping back into the pit lane. The Nuccio looks set for something possibly spectacular, but try as he might, could not keep it together. Meanwhile, Man Ray has a 27.265 at the end of their first sector. What can Man Ray do? He literally lit up the timesheets in Austria last time out, reminiscent of playoff seasons gone by. Man Ray looking to complete the third and final sector. Man Ray on the limit there, but he kept it clean, he kept it together. He keeps the lap valid, and on the corner where the Nuccio invalidated, the other Mercedes manages to keep it together here. And Man Ray on the exit of turn 16, the final corner, the main straight. He will open up that rear wing flap to get courtesy of DRS. And will he get closer to Thiago? He's in between both the McLaren and the Ferrari. It's a 22.321 for Man Ray. It's provisional P2 in these early stages of qualifying. Billy Hendricks, the Nuccio, yet to set their representative times. Cepiso, it seems, stayed out, perhaps to give it a consecutive push lap. Well, welcome folks. It's the Ferrari, currently in provisional P3, behind Thiago and Man Ray. Here he comes now into turn number 1. As you can see, that yellow bar on the bottom of that steering wheel, that battery has been recharged sufficiently, Cepiso will feel, on the same set of tires that he started this session with just about 11 minutes of the session to go. It is still Cepiso absolutely sending it through turns 4 and 5. Will now slam the brakes and try to nail that apex of turn number 6. It is down all the way to 3rd gear for the Ferrari driver, and we'll get a sense of how he is looking relative to his first push lap. Trying to keep it valid as he tries to go flat out here in the approach toward a turn 10, where he had to, of course, hit the brake inch perfectly. He's now down to about less than 50% of his battery power. He's found 0.2 of a second on these 2-lap old soft compound tires. So Cepiso definitely got a lot in the bag as far as pace is concerned. You do wonder what he can do later on in this session on an even newer set of tires. Here he comes now through the final corner. The scarlet red Ferrari screeches out down the main straight. How close can he get to the top runners? The answer is close, but not quite close enough. He does improve, does Cepiso. It's now a 22.927, but not quite close enough to give Thiago Maestro a couple of headaches. I'll tell you what, Thiago was in the comments asking for prayers. Well. Have they been answered? By some margin. 21.886 is very, very good going, considering the efforts in response that the likes of Cepiso and Man Ray have been able to put off. Now we go on board with Billy Hendricks through turn number 2. We joined the Red Bull, which has been absolutely sensational in the real world of this sport. Now into turns number 4 and 5, Billy Hendricks lines it up, takes a wide line to be able to nail the apex into 4 and 5. He takes it as cleanly as he possibly will want. 26.653 is one of the faster sector ones that we've seen here today in the onboards that we've watched. So Billy Hendricks is on a matting, as they would say in other parts of the world. Exiting now, this is 9, and he's going to slam the brakes into turn number 10. Billy Hendricks, whose car, perhaps network, is feeling a little bit glitchy and twitchy, but I tell you what, as far as the pace is concerned, he's looking very good. 53.558 at the end of the second sector is nothing to be scoffed at, folks. Billy Hendricks is absolutely on the limit as he sends it now in towards the final 6 corners. No, but on the same corner where the neutral lost it. Billy Hendricks similarly could not stay on the limits, went slightly over and was on the verge, I tell you, of something really, really special, because he now crossed the line. 21.1 would have been pole position if he had kept that lap clean. Billy Hendricks, what in the world will you be serving up tonight? He's racked up 25 total points. Billy Hendricks level on points with Thiago Maestro. It's touch and go between these two. And I tell you what, I can't wait to see what Billy can do on his next valid push lap. Back we go on board with the Nuccio. Man Ray's teammate here tonight, but I'll tell you what, they're nothing but. They are the worst of enemies. The best of enemies, perhaps? We'll keep a close eye on that as the Nuccio navigates turns number 4 and 5. Was on the limit there through 5. Is Cepiso racing? Asked Wendell Chesney. I thought he'd be tired from his heavy weekend. Wendell Chesney perhaps shedding some intel on the kind of shenanigans that Cepiso was on. Perhaps it's his weekend shenanigans that are seeing him on anything other than pole position. But time will tell with 7 minutes of the session to go. We're on board with Nuccio to see what kind of response he will have to the likes of Thiago and Man Ray, currently occupying those top 2 spots. Now, it is the Nuccio on the verge of completing Sector 2. A 54.682 is decent in the context of these playoffs. We will see how close the Nuccio can get to Thiago Maestro at this particular point. Less than 7 minutes of this session to go. Here comes the Mercedes of the Nuccio through the final corner. He's managed to keep it valid up until this particular point. But Thiago is the benchmark. Thiago is the one to catch. Nuccio comes across the line. 22.468 is close, but no cigar as far as Man Ray's benchmark is concerned in that P2 spot. Billy Hendricks showed some sensational pace before that invalidation. Then Thiago Maestro has just come across the line on his second push lap to, lay down the gauntlet even further. Now a 21.245 is the new benchmark that Thiago Maestro has set over here. As C-Clay rightly notes that Billy Hendricks was absolutely sending it. Moving he was. Less than 6 minutes of the session to go. Thiago still the gold standard, still the one to match, to catch. But who can do it before now, or rather between now and the end of this session? Billy would still be P1 if that lap was valid. Absolutely correct, as we were watching that sensational effort that Billy had put on a little bit earlier. So that is Thiago's time. Meanwhile, Cepiso seemingly is finding improvement, or is he? No, sadly, Tapiso down on his time. He's down by 0.2 of a second as Danuccio finds his way back into the pit. Tapiso not quite finding improvement. We'll see come the end of Sector 2 how Tapiso is faring before hopping right on over to Man Ray. Oh, looks like he was really on the limit there through, I believe that was turn 10, Tapiso was. Here comes the end of Sector 2. Yeah, he's still down, Tapiso down by almost 3.5 of a second. So, yeah, he knows what he has to do and invalidates that lap. It's no longer valid. Meanwhile, Man Ray, huffing and puffing, trying as much as he possibly can. Also down. No, he's abandoned that push lap attempt. So we'll catch up with Man Ray at another point as Tapiso is seemingly going to give it a second bite of the cherry, a second stab at it for Tapiso. Let's take a look to see how that telemetry is looking. Back on board with the Scarlet Red Ferrari. This is turn 2. This is Tapiso. With a hectic weekend, according to the intelligence of Wandal Chevy. Behind him, he knows now what he has to do. Tapiso tops the playoff standings. As it stands, Tapiso is going through to the playoffs. Danuccio is going through to the playoffs. Billy Hendricks and Thiago Maestro are level on 25 points. So it's touch and go between them two. Man Ray has racked up 13 points in this playoff series. This is the finale. It's now or never for Man Ray. What about Tapiso? How much more improvement can he find? As he now navigates turn 10 with about half of his battery power remaining. He's now absolutely sending it flat out. 7th gear, crosses the end of the Sector 2 split with more than 4.5 tenths worth of improvement found. So Tapiso in a sweet spot as far as his personal pace is concerned. But Thiago Maestro is also far away as far as that benchmark is concerned. He's got a clear track of Tapiso. Now navigates turn 16 to point that car straight down the main straight. As Ngawako D-Wax asks what the standings are looking like. We'll let you know in a second as Tapiso is setting it towards the line, finds 7/10 of an improvement, and he's up to P2. He pips Man Ray by the smallest of margins. It's about just over a tenth quicker than Man Ray. Tapiso up to P2, up to the front row provisionally with about 2 minutes 45 seconds of this session to go. No one can touch Thiago Maestro as things currently stand. Another rundown of the standings. Tapiso is currently top of these playoff standings, has racked up a total of 40 points. Danuccio is second on 37 points. Thiago Maestro and Billy Hendricks are level on 25 points apiece. Man Ray has 13 points, and sadly, Tindo could not rack up any points in this playoff series. Tapiso, with the answer to the gauntlet laid down by Thiago Maestro, not quite able to breach that 21 minute 21 second barrier. Billy Hendricks came well, close to really starting this race on provisional pole earlier on. He came across the line with the quickest time that we've seen today by, some margin before Thiago improved. But he invalidated close to the final corner, did Billy Hendricks. So he's got it all to do, as does Danuccio. Had a lot of fun out in Austria last time out. He's got his work cut out for him, does the Mercedes driver. Tapiso is back in the pits, perhaps reckoning that is the best that I can do at this particular point in time, and also looking at the amount of time that was remaining. Tapiso will take no further part. We'll hope to hang on, at the very least, to that front row start. Danuccio will have something to say about that, perhaps, come the end of this push lap. Now on the exit of turn 2, absolutely on the limit there, as you saw him ride a lot of the curb on the exit. These are turns number 4 and 5. 6th gear through 5 for Danuccio. Looks to line it up inch perfectly into the braking zone of turn 6, but sadly not finding improvement. He's down by more than 0.2 of a second with less than a minute to go in this qualifying session. Danuccio looking to pip Man Ray at the very least. Man Ray is on their out lap, will be the last to set a representative time. We'll catch up with Billy Hendricks, who's currently on their final push lap at this particular point in time. What can Danuccio do? He's going to need a miracle as he sends it now towards the Sector 2 split. He's found a 10 and a half worth of improvement. So the neutral sector 2 looking good. Gonna need a miracle in the final sector. Oh, went also heavy there through the curve, but he still managed to keep this lap valid. And now in the corner where he validated on his first push lap, he manages to keep it clean. Here comes turn 16 now for the Mercedes driver with 14 minutes of this session to go. He sends it off the exit and sends it screaming down towards the line. But will it be close enough to challenge Tapiso? The answer is yes. He's pipped Tapiso to P2. The Nucho. This is the best that he could do. Here comes Billy Hendricks, who was absolutely imperious in his first push lap last time out. And as you hop on board this time, you get a sense of just how quick he is still being. Oh, completely on the limit there. Almost invalidated. But could that be just a glitch as far as the twitchiness of that car is concerned? Oh, he's looking absolutely sensational and absolutely pacey. Billy Hendricks. Can he put on a last gas miracle? Now, on the exit of the final corner, it's now or never for Billy Hendricks. You only get one chance. Do not miss your chance for pole for Billy Hendricks. Can he do it? He's done it! 120.959 is a sensational push by Billy Hendricks to snatch pole position at the death of qualifying. And what a sensational run by the Red Bull driver to start on the front row alongside Thiago Maestro. A breathless end to qualifying, topped off by Billy Hendricks with a Hall of Fame lap under pressure. 1 minute 20.959. Where did that come from? As Carlos says, what? Let us go. Absolutely hyped up for the beginning of this playoff finale, soon to begin in just a couple of minutes. Sikle asking the questions. Sikle with a little probe.
Yung natupila ka resi, usika nga taga pili vutupili. Marami vupili, vupili akayang gulay ko pa ken reklama. Ani tapos episo baba pisi. Baba chai wala pa ko pa ken reklama. Upili akayang. That's why I found a pole position.
Perhaps Sikle barely believing the times that we're seeing. Billy Hendricks lining up the timesheets. Sikle saying, I'm absolutely shook. The Prince of South Africa in the comments section also elated, cheering on former Tier 3 competitor Billy Hendricks. I tell you what, on the verge of something absolutely special. Sikle, a 3-time champion of the top tier, urging them to absolutely leave them behind.
Hey, Billy Hendricks, ang aso ko si Ustate, Philippines nga. Tabang, the pole position 120 kanja.
120.959 is nothing to be scoffed at, folks. 2.5 tenths behind is Thiago Maestro and the Nucho. Next up, 1.2 seconds behind the pole sitter. Tapiso will start P4, was P2 when he retired from his quali session. And Man Ray will start this race in that 5th position. As you can see, wow, 4 sets of tires used by Man Ray, and Thiago Maestro went through 3 sets for his almost pole position. 2 sets apiece for the Nucho and Tapiso, and the pole sitter Billy Hendricks. Up next, we race in Qatar. Welcome. If you've just joined us, thank you for choosing BrakeAway Racing League as your league of choice. Good night, Billy Hendricks, hoping and wishing for luck in the comments section. I'll tell you what a show they have put on here tonight. And, well, let's see if they can back it up in the race proper. Billy Hendricks on pole position. Good luck, says Thiago Maestro. It's goodwill, good luck wishes. Take it easy, says Seaplate, somewhere in South Africa. I suppose if Tindo had the points, he would be hoping for a DNF. But right now, I'll tell you what, Man Ray would definitely not mind a feisty start between either of these competitors. And he definitely would not mind to see people crash out of this race to give himself a chance of advancing at the death in this playoff series. Tapiso tops the playoff standings. Nucho is 3 points behind, so Tapiso 40 points. The Nucho 37 points. Thiago and Billy are on 25 points, and Man Ray on 13 points. Tindo wishing them all the best. You got this, Billy, says the Prince of South Africa in the comments section. Would love to hear your thoughts on how this year's race will unfold. And we should be getting the countdown visible within a matter of seconds as we wait for these drivers to, well, put the final touches on whatever it is that is possible. It is 4 lights, it's 5 lights, it's the only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out. We are racing in Qatar. Billy Hendricks is stalled on the line. Billy Hendricks has been left behind. Thiago Maestro is in the lead. It's a nightmare start for Billy Hendricks, who had a sensational quali, but now is completely left for dead, stalling on the start line. And Thiago Maestro needed no second invitation to take this race by the horns. Now leading this race from Tepiso and the Nucho, who are hunting him down behind. Man Ray has fallen behind by about 1.3 seconds already. On board we go with the P3 sitting Nucho. Billy Hendricks now has a hell of a recovery drive in prospects from first to last in the space of, well, before he gets to the first corner. And Gawako D-Wax says Billy is too focused on YouTube commenting in the comment section instead of focusing on the race start. And there goes the P1 spot for Thiago Maestro. Look at that. Nothing less than imperious through Sector 1, leaving all of them for dead. The Nucho versus Tepiso in now towards turns number 12 and 13. He thought about it, did Nucho, but was not quite close enough. Tepiso was not going to make it easy by any stretch of the imagination. But as I say that, Tepiso goes off track, trying to make sure that he keeps the Nucho at bay here. Man Ray has fallen behind by about 1.8 seconds, 1.9 seconds. 2 seconds is Man Ray behind the leading trio, as Billy Hendricks is now attacking the other Mercedes. Here they come now through the final corner. It's the Nucho versus Tepiso in towards turn number 1. Major overtaking opportunity. Using that battery is the Man Ray. This particular point side by side. The Nucho versus Tepiso, who says, no, you shall not pass as easily as that. And Tepiso hangs on to that P2 spot by the skin of his teeth. Man Ray, or rather Billy Hendricks, tries he might, not quite able to overtake Man Ray as things currently stand. Let's take a look at early standings. Thiago Maestro gaining that 1 position, Tepiso gaining 2, courtesy of that Billy Hendricks mistake. And this man now at the back of the pack, falling further and further behind because Man Ray, struggling to keep up with the leading trio, is compromising Billy's pace, which was sensational through quali, but right now he's going to have the fight of his life on his hands to be able to put on anything that is in the in the way of a battle. Let's take a look now at the tire strategies. It's a full complement of hard tires for this entire small grid. As you can see, all of these drivers going long here initially, and as we get back on board with Billy Hendricks, he is less than half a second behind the Mercedes of Man Ray, who himself is trying to catch up to the other Mercedes driven by the Nucho. Here they come now through Sector 3, and I'm seeing a lot of cars really toying with these track limits. This is an unforgiving track as far as potential time penalties are concerned, so they dare not rack up too many time penalties too early on, with a total 29 laps to go. Thiago Maestro has just crossed the line with a 25.758 daylight between himself and Tepiso, and daylight in the form of 3 seconds. Back on board we go. The battle for P2, the battle for who would be the driver to potentially give Thiago headaches or force Thiago into mistakes, if that is at all possible here today. 3 laps gone of a total 29. At this particular point, DRS has been enabled, so Tepiso will know that it is high risk as far as getting overtaken, courtesy of DRS is concerned. And as these two battle, Man Ray has caught up to the action. It is all kicking off right here as Billy Hendricks is trying to do something. They go side by side, wheel to wheel, or do they? Oh, Billy Hendricks around the outside of Man Ray, which will become the inside on this corner. It's a sensational overtake. Billy Hendricks has got it done, and this time he's close enough to be able to have a say in the battle for P2, because he is soon going to be possibly within DRS of Venuccio ahead of him, currently in that P3 spot. Billy Hendricks 1.1 seconds behind the Mercedes driver. Man Ray now hanging on for dear life, trying not to get left behind too much. Estella reacting to that move by Billy. Are we sure it's Billy Hendricks driving Sir Lancelot? Is the second person to question the credentials of the person behind the wheel in that Billy Hendricks car. Look at that. Thiago Maestro is peerless as Venuccio now goes on the attack on the inside. turn number 1. A huge overtaking opportunity for the Nucho, who takes it with both hands. But Tepiso was looking to be even braver on the brakes, but try as he might. Not quite close enough. Here comes Billy Hendricks, now looking to challenge the veteran Tepiso. Oh, Billy Hendricks leaving nothing to chance. And it's a DRS train from P2 to P5. Man Ray is in within touching distance, but dare not fall too far behind, because he's on the precipice of slipping out of that DRS advantage. C-Clay reckons, you know what? Billy Hendricks might just win this race. C-Clay looking at the pace, looking at the way that Billy is being nothing short of aggressive in these early stages of this race. And already in the, lap 4, C-Clay hedging his bets, putting his head on the chopping block, betting on a Billy Hendricks victory. Long way to go, of course, as we watch to see how much of a fight that Tepiso can put up. Don't go down without a fight. It's Monday Action Night. This time in the finale of the playoff series to determine who will be racing in Tier 1 next season. Thiago Maestro, Zanuccio, Tepiso, currently in the top 3 spots. And Tepiso, who's been trying to keep this man, Billy Hendricks, at bay, has slipped behind by a factor of about a second, or 1.2, 1.3 seconds relative to the driver in P2. Here comes Billy Hendricks. It's wheel to wheel in the drag race towards turn number 1. It's a wide berth that Billy Hendricks takes, trying not to risk any contact with Tepiso. And the same way that it was overtaken by the Nucho, it is an identical way in which Tepiso loses P3 to Billy Hendricks, who is absolutely surging through this field in the early stages. Nightmare start for the pole sitter, stalled on the start line, now in a recovery drive, currently in that P3 spot. All these drivers selected a hard compound of tire. As you can see, it is about 75% of battery remaining for Billy Hendricks, who is now hunting down the Nucho, who himself is down to about 10%. So the Nucho was really trying to create daylight between himself and the chasing pack, but sadly at a huge disadvantage relative to Billy Hendricks, who is really putting on a show here in the final race of this playoff series. Scallo reckons, you know what? Secret, you might just be right here. You may just be right, as the Nucho toys with track limits on the exit of some of the final few corners, under severe pressure from Billy Hendricks. Tepiso is now in a battle with Man Ray, as we see these 4 contenders in the midfield vying and jostling for position. Billy Hendricks, superior battery power, 67% versus the likes of 3% as far as the Nucho is concerned. So Billy can see, of course, that his competitor is struggling. So Billy biding his time, making the Nucho, making the Nucho stress as much as possible, and just making sure that he does not recover any battery power at all. Meanwhile, it looks like Thiago Maestro has definitely lost a step here. He was comfortably more than 3 seconds ahead, but now in the 6th lap has lost about half a second. Oh, almost half a second. Now he's looking to find his mojo again, and that gap is slowly but surely building. So Thiago Maestro, the class of the field as far as race pace is concerned, went pretty much unchallenged through that first lap and built a sizable gap, as now Billy Hendricks looks to absolutely put the Nucho under all the pressure. It was nose-to-tail action there between the Mercedes and the Red Bull. Less than 0.3 of a second separating these two would-be competitors. Thiago is staging up his DRS, so says Iscalo in the comment section. 6 laps gone of a total 29 as they now come through turn 16, the final corner here at the Lusail International Circuit. Billy Hendricks now for that P2 spot. Billy Hendricks quoting Ludacris, "I'm coming for that number 1 spot." Now up to P2 as further back ahead, Man Ray overtakes Tepiso, who is not having such a great day here, slipping and falling. "I can't get up. Ayo, I'm slipping. I'm falling." I'm quoting DMX, says Tepiso. Now half a second, 0.6 of a second behind Man Ray, who now looks to find himself back into the reckoning for those podium places. Remember, Man Ray had 13 points before the start of this race. The competitors that he is hunting down are Billy Billy Hendricks and Thiago Maestro, who each have 25 points. He's waiting for Billy, says Seclay in the comment section. I think he wants to battle with him. Now the gaps between all of these drivers is spreading out a little bit. It's about 1.1 seconds, 1.3 seconds so far the neutral is concerned, and Man Ray at about 1.7 seconds behind the other Mercedes. Look at that. Billy Hendricks now within touching distance of the race-leading Thiago. Where, oh where, is this pace coming from, Billy Hendricks? In the season finale of the playoffs, Billy Hendricks is showing something special, putting on, a heck of a show, as his glitchy network is really taking us on a hell of a roller coaster here. But I'll tell you what, he is now within half a second come the end of lap 7, soon to be the beginning of the 8th lap, the main straight. Billy Hendricks, with so much battery power, is going to send it on the outside. They're going to go wheel to wheel. It's Billy Hendricks. He started in pole position. He's back up to the front in the lead of this race, overtaking Thiago Maestro in the 8th lap of a total 29. Man, oh man, oh man. Can he hang on between now and the end of this race? There's still a lot of racing yet to go here, folks. The Nuccio will hope to take advantage of these top two, giving each other a lot to think about. But that gap between P1 and 2 is about, 1.9 seconds, as Seclay notes that Thiago opted not to fight over there. He wants a battle. He wants a heck of a fight. And as Stello noted earlier on, Thiago didn't even use any of his batteries, just been saving up that ERS, knowing that Billy Hendricks, in all likelihood, would have been using his battery power to make sure that this is a battle. You know what? It's a dangerous game. If that's the case, says Sir Lancelot in the comment section. Billy Hendricks versus Thiago Maestro. The McLaren driver has been at the center of some of the most entertaining tussles we have seen in this playoff series. Came into Austria and put on a heck of a show versus all of these drivers as he tried, did Thiago, to fight his way up that particular grid and through that particular pack in the previous race. On board we go with the McLaren. Meanwhile, Man Ray and the Nuccio are battling it out. Tapiso is falling behind, and Thiago Maestro makes light work of Billy Hendricks through turn number 1. A very, very notable overtaking spot. But Billy Hendricks, I tell you what, is not going down without a fight over here through turn 2. Was absolutely nose to tail once again. As Seclay says, you know what? I'm proud of this dude, Billy Hendricks. I've never, ever been so happy to see someone do well in a race. 20 laps of racing still to go. A lot can happen between now and the checkered flag as Billy Hendricks looks to apply the pressure on the leading McLaren at this stage of this race. We still have to have pit stops. We've still yet to see many mistakes, as we saw a slight twitch there from Thiago Maestro through that particular corner. And Billy Hendricks is, of course, going to be ruthless, we can assume, having had to fight his way back into the reckoning after that huge mistake off the starting line. Billy Hendricks is looking cool, calm, collected. Oh, Billy Hendricks! Oh, no, that was a glitch. I thought he might have made an almighty mistake, sending his car completely off the track over there. And these two contenders have now eked out a healthy 2.8 second advantage to the chasing trio led by the Nuccio. Will Billy Hendricks swap positions with the McLaren this time out? The answer is yes, but only through DRS. Oh, they almost make contact. It's wheel-to-wheel action here through turn number 1. But Thiago Maestro hangs on to the lead of this race. Or does he? He will have the inside line with Thiago through turn 2. Billy Hendricks keeping it oh so close. Making sure that it is not the easiest of navigations through these initial corners for the McLaren driver. Billy applying all of the pressure. Turns 4 and 5, nose-to-tail action. Once again, we'll catch up with the action between Man Ray and the Nuccio in a second or two, folks. Turn 6 was cleanly navigated by Billy Hendricks relative to Thiago Maestro. Much tighter to the apex of that turn 6 was Billy. And Thiago perhaps content to try and build up as much battery power as possible as the Nuccio becomes the first casualty of track limit incursion. 3-second time penalty for the Mercedes driver. He's happy to save ERS, says Seclay, perhaps speaking of Billy Hendricks. taking a leaf out of Thiago's book from earlier on. None of these drivers really wanting to take unnecessary risks. Here they come now into the final corner. Oh, it's an early pit stop for Thiago Maestro into the pits in lap number 10. The would-be race leader now comes in. Now, it's an average pit stop time loss around here of about 18.9 seconds. A very early pit stop. Is this a two-stop strategy? Perhaps, because Thiago opts for a set of soft compound tires. He's going to lose an average of about 18.9 seconds in here through the pits. I'll tell you what, as Bangani, Debo Crocodile, a distant cousin of Debo Alligator, perhaps Debo Cayman, that is yet to be determined, is cheering on Man Ray in the comment section. Out comes Thiago Maestro as Man Ray, courtesy of that pit stop, is now in that P2 spot, having bested the other Mercedes, that being the Nuccio. Is he trying to prove something? Asks Sir Lancelot. Billy is too fast, says C-Clay in the comment section. Estella says, you know what? I'm licking my lips. I am pulling up the popcorn. I am kicking back in my seat. I want to see how this will play out. It will not work, says C-Clay. Perhaps those are some of you remarking on what we can assume at this particular point will be a two-stop strategy by Thiago Maestro. As you can see, he's about 19.1 seconds off the pace. 19 seconds behind Cepiso. Down in P5 is Thiago. This is the Nuccio on the hunt versus Man Ray. Both the Mercedes drivers flashing, having used up so much of their battery power. Man Ray sends that car down to the right, trying to break the slipstream, and now trying to squeeze the other Mercedes driver, but the Nuccio will have superior pace down towards turn number 1, courtesy of that DRS, of course. And he is now up to P2. Back up. Well. The gap now between the race leaders and the chasing field is 5.5 seconds. As C-Clay says that we should be seeing these drivers stay out even longer than they currently are. Man Ray versus the Nuccio, the current battle unfolding. Cepiso in that P4 spot was among was in contention for a solid podium finish earlier on, but has not been a straightforward race for him. Of course, quali is where he was bested by some margin by some of the top runners that we saw. Cepiso now 2.9 seconds, almost 3 seconds behind the Mercedes pair, that being the Nuccio and Man Ray. But as I say that, Cepiso takes a leaf out of Thiago's book earlier on. Only 13 elapsed. Will switch off from those hard tires. And he's watching that pit entry speed as much as he possibly can. He says, you know what? I will opt to fit a set of soft tires. Perhaps Cepiso was starting to get worried at the pace at which Thiago was catching up. And, as Cepiso is only now exiting the pits, Thiago was well and truly within the margins to overtake Cepiso, who will now possibly also commit to a two-stop strategy. Has come into the pits and exits at the back of the pack in that P5 spot. So now Thiago, 2-lap old softs, trying to catch up to the leaders. He's about 26.5 seconds behind Billy Hendricks at this vantage point. And if you look at the track map, as Billy Hendricks completes Sector 2, Thiago Maestro has only just begun that particular sector. So daylight between the race leader and the driver currently in P4. To give you a sense, before this race started, it was Thiago Maestro, Billy Hendricks were level on points on 25 each. Cepiso was leading at the start of this race. He had 40 points. The Nuccio had 37 points before the start of this race. And Man Ray, who's been putting on a show here today, had 13 points before the start of this race. Billy Hendricks was the star of qualifying, now with 14 laps gone. Pretty much a approaching the halfway point of this here race on 7-second advantage relative to the rest of the field. Well, we've got a cheerleader for Billy Hendricks in the comment section. Limisiwe Numbelu says, Billy for the win. Cheering Billy Hendricks on as loud as they possibly can. 7 minutes, or rather 7 seconds, is the gap that Billy has managed to build to the chasing pack. 7 seconds and, well, building, I'll tell you what, 7.2 seconds. And it looks like Thiago Maestro, who was inching closer and closer to some of the drivers that he was chasing, is now not quite managing to keep pace with Billy Hendricks. We'll take a look at what the fastest lap is at this particular point. It is still held by Billy Hendricks, who set a 1 minute 25.637 on these hards. Could have been a little bit earlier on. Of course, with 13 laps gone, it's a much lighter fuel load for all these drivers. Man Ray is now into the pits from the third position. And we'll get a sense of whether or not he will be surpassed by Thiago Maestro. I think that will definitely be the case. It's going to be hard tires to medium tires for Man Ray. And what we could assume is going to be a one-stop race, as Thiago Maestro is now up to P3. Tapiso on those new softs is the quickest driver on track. 24.545 is that new benchmark as far as the quickest lap of the race is concerned. Thiago Maestro is about 20 seconds behind the Nuccio at this particular point. Remember, none of the top two drivers have yet to come into the pits. Now, to give you a sense of the points as things stand, the Nuccio currently tops the standings on 55. Tapiso has 50 points. Billy Hendricks also has 50 points. Thiago currently, well, that was before the pit stops. Thiago, the last points update that I got was on 37. Man Ray was on 28. So Man Ray still needs a miracle at this particular point. Here comes the Nuccio into the pits. Presumably a one-stop strategy. At this particular point, we would not be surprised to see Thiago and Tapiso coming into the pits again. But how dearly will that cost them when all is said and done? The Nuccio will come out of the pits, but will be behind Thiago, behind Tapiso, the two soft tire runners who roll the dice as far as their tire strategy is concerned. 5-lap old softs versus 3-lap old softs, respectively, have been trying to chase down the race leader, but at this particular point, those softs are dying off. Remember, at some point, Thiago was about 26 seconds behind the race-leading Billy Hendricks. Right now, it's 30 seconds and counting. So those tires have completely fallen off as far as the performance of Thiago Maestro is concerned. And here comes Tapiso, who will have absolutely no mercy at this particular point. On board we go with the Ferrari driver. Lap 16 of a total 29. Into turn 10 they go. Thiago Maestro struggling for grip, struggling for traction. Wheel to wheel, no, it's a no contest as far as Tapiso's challenge is concerned. But will Thiago try to fight back at this particular point? He's got a lot of battery power remaining, but he's really struggling as far as the performance of these tires is concerned. How much further punishment will Thiago take? Will he call it coming to the pits now? No, he will not. He carries on. And at this particular point, we can assume they are on, well, on a hope and a prayer. Oh, Thiago, so much battery power, so much stock, so much pace, the easiest of overtakes through turn number 1. And now Tapiso is at the mercy of the Ferrari driver, who had all of that pent-up battery energy that he unleashed out here on the track. As things currently stand, the only driver to have racked up a time penalty is the Nuccio. 3 seconds for track limit incursions. Now, Billy Hendricks is so far down the road, has a pit stop and then some. I do wonder how far Billy Hendricks will push those soft tires, whether or not it'll be a pit for a set of mediums round about now, or if Billy will absolutely send it and go from a hard to a soft tire strategy. He's now in the 18th lap of a total 29, and still looking very, very good. Want to see here to see just how close or not Billy Hendricks is to their best times that they've set at this particular point. 30-second lead, 30.7 seconds. Well. He's within 3/100ths of his best Sector 1. So, yeah, really putting on a show, to put it lightly. Meanwhile, in the battle for the podium positions, Tapiso versus Thiago Maestro. 7-lap-old softs versus 5-lap-old softs. They rolled the dice to these two. We're hoping for a miracle as far as the pace advantage is concerned. But at this particular point, going to have their work cut out, assuming that they're still going to call it. Seaclay says at this particular point, Billy is about as fast as Simps. Well. Isn't that something to marvel at this particular point? Sir Lancelot responding there to some of the remarks that Seaclay's made. Thiago's entry into that corner was the compromise. Tapiso could not take advantage. He's on the limit, is Tapiso. And as these two battle, remember, it is advantage Nucho, who has now joined the scene, joined the party. And Thiago Maestro finally calls it, comes for the second pit stop. And Tapiso will be left absolutely defenseless versus the Nucho. He weaves to the right, trying to break the slipstream. But, of course, the Nucho on the fresher tires will have that pace advantage. And courtesy of DRS, it is a clean, simple overtake. And now Thiago Maestro has to fight all the way down from P5. Billy Hendricks, your credentials are being questioned here in the comment section. Seaclay in defense of Billy Hendricks in the comment section. Perhaps Lemmy Seaway as well in the comments, saying, let Billy cook.
Let him cook. Abigale pegu pili. Mkhabe angazi ukuthi uthathe iphi pace engaka mara sebona khona ifla moto uzokwazi ukusurvive phela kuma players kushubile kushubile asazi ukuthi uzosurvive.
Yes, it is not clear whether or not he will survive. Must say, folks, that Tapiso took a risky strategy by following Thiago onto a two-stopper. Remember that Tapiso was leading the playoff standings before this playoff series began. And there was no need to take unnecessary risks, but he rolled the dice on strategy. And now we're going to see whether or not he can manage, come the end of this race, to be in a position where it is not too stressful as far as his points prospects are concerned. Tapiso now into the pits, meaning Man Ray on those mediums will surpass him. Man Ray now up into the podium places. How far back, however, is Thiago Maestro? As Tapiso is making his way now out the pits, Man Ray, or rather Thiago, only now exiting the final corner. So, folks, with about 9 laps of racing to go, we will try and keep you updated as far as those points are concerned. So Tapiso went more conservative relative to Thiago. It's a set of mediums for the Ferrari driver, while Thiago opted for softs. And we saw how much Thiago was struggling on those soft tires by the time he got to about lap 6 in that first soft tire stint. So we'll see how he will fare. Meanwhile, down in the pit lane, finally, Billy Hendricks has come into the pits. And with 9 laps to go, it's going to be soft tires. Well, how close can the mediums get? And I want to hear from you in the comment section. Will Billy Hendricks come to rue this decision come the end of this race? How much do you rate those soft tires will die off before this race has been concluded? In the distance comes the specter of the Nucho now towards turn number 1, and the gap has been slashed to 2.2 seconds. He was on the hard tires for such a long time, was the Billy Hendricks, but now the Nucho is about 2.2 seconds behind. Oh, well. I do wonder if we have an absolute cracker of a final stint for all of these drivers before all is said and done. Meanwhile, down in P4 and 5, it is Cepiso on the outside of turn 1 versus the McLaren of Thiago Maestro, who will have the inside line because he absolutely cuts Cepiso off. He slams the door shut. They're wheel to wheel through turn 2. It is relentless action by both these drivers, none of them giving an inch. And now in towards turns number 4 and 5, it's wheel to wheel action. It's Cepiso on the mediums overtaking Thiago Maestro, and it's nose to tail stuff by the McLaren driver, giving nothing away into turn 6. He chooses the outside line, does Thiago Maestro, and Cepiso slams the door shut on the inside line. You shall not pass, says Cepiso, quoting Gandalf on the bridge of Khazad Doom. But right here, it's the Lusail International Circuit. It's like Thiago Maestro is just going to have to bide his time on that half of his battery power remaining. Debo Crocodile says that Thiago played himself, while Cicle reckons that Thiago is being slow on purpose. I don't know if Cicle reckons that Thiago is saving his tires for later, but I'll tell you what, it is not going to be easy for Thiago. I do wonder if this sudden slower pace that we're seeing with Thiago is possibly because he might have underfueled. That is a possibility. Sometimes if you do gamble on a potential safety car or two, but in such a small field it would be too much of a gamble. I do wonder if he did underfuel his car, which of course would put him at such a high risk of running out of fuel towards the tail end of this race. But that is all speculation. At this particular point, he is more than a second behind. Cepiso. But he's inching closer and closer back into the DRS. That is all speculative here, folks. We're just going through potential scenarios at this particular point. But man, that wheel-to-wheel action between Cepiso and Thiago was very, very good indeed. Now, speaking of underfueling, this is a track in which drivers are at full throttle, an average of 68% around this year's circuit. Yellow flags, but for who? Oh, it's one of the Mercedes drivers. Was it Manry? Possibly. The yellow flag has been cleared now. He's fallen further behind. Yeah, Manry bringing out the yellow flag as Billy Hendricks had set a new fastest lap in the 1 minute 22s, as we saw, 22.972. Look at that. That is daylight as far as the fastest lap is concerned between Billy Hendricks and Thiago Maestro, who are currently running the softs. That is crazy difference in terms of race pace as things currently stand. Billy Hendricks, pole position from P5 to the lead of the race, currently holding on to that lead of the race in a vice grip. Nothing short of absolutely remarkable stuff that Billy Hendricks is doing here and displaying. The Prince of South Africa sowing the seeds, asking questions about the levels of performance that we've seen today. Some of you, defending the integrity of this man who has been nothing short of imperious. Lap 24 of 29. The tail end of this race has come. 9.7 seconds advantage Billy Hendricks has to the Nucho. And Man Ray now up to the podium. Places that mistake really costing him dearly. Now 12 seconds behind. And Man Ray really could have been in with a potential P2 here. But sadly, Man Ray could not take advantage of that 3-second time penalty that the Nucho had racked up. Tapiso in that P4 spot and Thiago in P5. Well, speaking of notable, remarkable things as far as race pace is concerned, Thiago completely off the boil. Completely fallen off the pace here. That gap, 14 seconds and building, and that's the gap to Tapiso. As you can see, they're almost within the same sector are Thiago and Billy Hendricks. Thiago has just begun the sector 2, while the race-leading Billy Hendricks is on the verge of starting sector 2. So, yeah, something definitely up, something definitely wrong here with Thiago. TL1 is in trouble, says the Prince of South Africa, remarking on some of the performances that we've seen. Well, let's see then how the rest of this will fare. I'm not sure what is up with Thiago Maestro, but slipping further and further behind. Billy Hendricks. Why is Thiago weaving? That is the question. I'm not sure why he has completely gone off the boil. And as we saw, he was weaving and he's losing all of that time. Seatley says he's preparing for a quali lap. Another points update, folks, as it stands. The person topping the playoff series and through to Tier 1 is the Nucho, who will be joined, as things currently stand, by Tapiso. Nucho has 55 points as things currently stand. Tapiso has 52 points. And Billy Hendricks has 51 points. Those three drivers, Billy, Nucho, Tapiso, as things currently stand, are going through to the playoffs. Thiago, as things stand, has 35 points, and Man Ray, as things stands, has 28 points. So, Nucho, Tapiso, Billy are through to Tier 1 as things currently stand. Tapiso is inching closer and closer to the back of Man Ray. He needs a miracle here. Man Ray really needed top 2 here today, to really, he needed top 2 and one of Billy and Thiago to either crash out. But as it stands, he's under pressure from Tapiso, who has closed that gap incrementally. And as you can see, on those 11-lap old medium tires, Man Ray has no answer to the pace of Tapiso. That gap soon to be less than a second, and we can expect Tapiso to absolutely send it down the main straight in the surge towards turn 1. On the exit of turn 10, however, Tapiso has trimmed that gap down to about 8.5 tenths. Oh, make that 7 tenths of a second. 6.5 tenths as they now navigate, or rather, I beg your pardon, that was turn 6 earlier on. This is turn 10 as they now are looking to get to the end of sector 2. And as you can see, Tapiso much more comfortable. Oh, nose to tail stuff. Tapiso almost making contact with the back of that Mercedes over there. Almost a self-sabotage. Oh, Tapiso could have gone for it over there, but he slammed the brakes. There's a yellow flag. It is these two drivers who brought out the yellow flag, perhaps going too slowly to the point where the marshal started waving the flag there. Well. Tapiso gets the overtake done on a Man Ray, and didn't have to wait all the way down towards the main straight to do so. That's the gap to the leader, folks. Nucho, 21.9 seconds behind the race leader. Thiago Maestro, at this particular point, is this a retirement? He's on the verge of being lapped, as you can see. Coming into the pits is Thiago. And it's a brand new set of softs with 2 laps to go. Yeah, that is Thiago on the verge of being lapped by Billy Hendricks. We'll see blue flags if he did not get lapped at this particular point. He slowed down completely, did Thiago, but that is it. The sensational Thiago may yet be staring down another season in Tier 2 next year, or next season. Indeed, next year, because the new season will take place next year. Perhaps going for the fastest lap at the tail end of this race. But Thiago had a golden opportunity here where he was, or rather, did he take, were he less, I suppose, brave? Or did he take, if he had taken a less risky tire strategy? But now, was down on 35 points, will not be going through to Tier 1 as things stand. Would have been a sensational addition, of course. But as things currently stand, sadly, it looks like this Man Ray, will be relegated, will be racing in the 2nd tier next season, alongside Thiago Maestro and alongside Tindo. So 2 of the former Tier 1 drivers being relegated in this playoff series. Thiago did it on purpose, so reckon Cifle in the comments section. Man Ray has fallen behind by a factor of about 6.5 seconds behind Tepiso at this point. Clearly, Thiago wants to race Mangos, says Sir Lancelot. Thiago has been lapped, won't get to do fastest lap, says the 86er in the comment section. And here we go, folks. Billy Hendricks, the imperious, the sensational Billy Hendricks, has been nothing short of phenomenal in this final playoff race. Man Ray, his day goes from bad to worse. 3-second time penalty being doled out for Man Ray, along with the red carpet being rolled out. Man Ray getting a warm welcome back to Tier 2. And yeah, it's a welcome party to Tier 2 for Man Ray, for Thiago Maestro, for Tindo, who will be racing in the 2nd tier next season. Yellow flag, is it for the Nucho? Yes. May have had a bit of a spin here. And, well, better be careful. Oh no! He may have run out of fuel! He's run out of fuel! The Nucho is on the verge of losing P2! Oh, Tepiso will claim that P2, but I'll tell you what, the person exiting the final corner and screaming towards the line, he's been nothing short of sensational. It's Billy Hendricks who wins the playoff finale and books his race seat in the top tier of BrakeAway Racing League next season. Tepiso versus the Nucho, now in the run towards the line. Can Tepiso catch up? Yes, he can! He will surpass the driver who underfueled and ran out of fuel before the end of this race. Tepiso, the veteran driver of the top tier, says, I shall not be moved. And Tepiso will be racing in the top tier again next season. I tell you what, Nucho better not lose that P2 spot to... that's a driver. It is Tepiso who's going to come across the line. It was Billy, guys, who had finished in P1, so that is a bit of a lobby glitch over there. And the Nucho will finish in P3. Man Ray had also underfueled. So we've got all these drivers underfueling towards the end, running out of fuel. And, well, that is that, folks. The Nucho, Tepiso, Billy Hendricks will be your Tier 1 drivers next season. Thoughts, reactions, impressions. I want to hear it all in the comments. I tell you what, it has been a journey of note. He came into the 3rd tier as a rookie to the BrakeAway Racing League stable. Did Billy Hendricks. He scrapped in the doldrums of the 3rd tier. came up to the second tier and had a topsy-turvy period, but was good enough to make it into the playoffs. And Man Ray is among the conspirators as we wait to get the three competitors in the commentary box over here. Now, the final standings as far as points are concerned, thank you very much to the 86er for keeping us updated, and thank you very, very much. Tapiso on 58 points. Venuccio on 52 points. Billy Hendricks on 51 points. Those are your top three drivers through to Tier 1. Thiago, 35 points. Man Ray, 28 points. Thiago, that is a heck of a... What is going on here? What is going on? I don't know if he's being serious, but if that was indeed the case, then I don't know. I don't know what is going on. Man Ray says, what in the world is going on? To be so also. What is going on? Qatar Gate. We had Glitch Gate some years ago. Sikli says he's joking. Listen, Sikli, I sure hope so. What is going on in this race? Yeah, we want to hear from all of our competitors who are on the podium. That is, of course, Billy and Tapiso and Venuccio. Let's see if we can get them into this party chat. Well, folks. Yeah, as we were speculating in the comment section, it was speculation earlier on, but Thiago Maestro confirming that it wasn't underfueling. Tapiso is apparently keeping his party streak going, will not be joining us in the chat. Tapiso had a grand old weekend, according to Wandal Chesi. So we'll see whether or not Billy or the Nucho can join us in the commentary section. Man Ray calling for a probe into this race. Thiago seemingly wanting to stay in the second tier, but we will see how that will fare. But of course, today we're now joined by some of our podium finishers, the first of which is Venuccio. It is Tier 1 next season. Congratulations. As things currently stand, how does that feel? Take us through that quali. How does that feel? Congratulations. 52 points. You go through to Tier 1.
Well, thank you, Tyson. Like I said to Zutile the other time, I think it is long overdue. Just had some bad lucks in the seasons leading up to this, but I'm grateful that I actually have the opportunity to to race in Tier 1. Faced some stellar competition. When it came to quali, I thought I had it all, and then I saw Billy just blow the pack off. I thought him and Maestro was going to battle it out in terms of the whole race, but as soon as Maestro pitted, Thiago Maestro pitted, I think then after that he didn't really live up to what I was expecting of him within the race. But nonetheless, I underfueled and I saw myself losing some time and I couldn't catch up. And I was trying to manage that as best as possible until my fuel ran out.
Well, man, the underfueling. Thankfully, you had enough of a gap to not make it an issue. I just want to hear, particularly in qualifying and also in the race itself, where you were feeling particularly strong and where maybe you felt was quite dicey, and how exactly or where exactly you ended up racking up those track limit incursions for the time penalties.
To be honest, Tyson, I don't think any section of this track was any of my favorites. I hate it. It's not one of my favorite tracks. So it's just about the setup, and I think I had the best of setups because I was complaining to my race engineer prior to the race that I don't have enough of a good setup, I think. And but eventually, when I raced, I told myself that the only thing I need to do is practically just finish, and then things played out in my favor, and I started overtaking people, and I started being stable within the middle of the pack before I gradually gained some positions to be in P2 for the longest time until the underfueling happened.
All right, man.
Yeah.
C. Clay is welcoming you to the big leagues. We cannot wait to see how you will fare over there. Billy Hendricks is seemingly commenting through Ruth, the account of Ruth. It says their battery died. It says practice, practice for the non-believers. Tiago Maestro, you were one of the drivers we were watching very closely to see how today might have fared. Take us through that. It was a heck of a struggle, and as you confirmed, we suspected during commentary that it might have been a case of underfueling.
Yeah, that's 100%. I paid close attention to my strategy to start off with. The qualifying wasn't that bad. I made a few mistakes in Sector 1 and the final sector, but to be honest, I had a high downforce setup, so I knew that the race was going to go good. So for the first 5 laps, I think the gap was like 5 seconds or something like that. Next time, I gazed over to the bottom right corner. I saw I was already in minus 15. So I didn't notice that initially. So I needed to lift and coast, and it started to go downhill from there. So the initial thought was, if I had pitted 2 or 3 times by the hopes that the other guys also underfueled and didn't lift and coast, I might have got them at the end. I think I was like a lap out because 2 of the guys underfueled. So I would have gotten P3 initially. That was the only thing I could have done apart from retiring.
Yeah. Oh, man. Because we were, of course, quite startled to see you struggling, number one, and then also, by the time we saw you completely lifting off, we just figured something must have gone wrong there. It's going to be Tier 2 again, Tiago, but of course we have seen, especially in recent seasons, things happen. Sometimes people have to relinquish their seats. It just takes a couple of, consistent performances in the early part of the season for you to possibly find yourself in Tier 2. C-Clay reckons you're lying. You just wanted to stay in Tier 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I mean, my nature is competitive to start off with. So obviously you would want to be in Tier 1 initially. So I'll gladly welcome the challenges of Mango and Shakes, seeing that Mango is remaining in Tier 2 and then Shakes is coming up from Tier 3. So that will be a fun, blasting experience to meet up with them again. So it was a fun experience, but too little too late, or too short for us.
Ah, man, it would have been great. But I'll tell you what, we look forward to seeing you once again, next season. Tier 2 is going to be so incredibly entertaining. Don't forget, Tindo's in Tier 2 again. Man Ray is in Tier 2. Kaboza is in Tier 2. It's going to be absolutely sensational. Tiago, thank you very much. Congratulations. Well, or rather, commiserations to you. Yeah. Congratulations to you, Nucho. I want to hear to you, actually, Nucho, finally, just before we let you go. Of course, as you said, you've come close, but now it's Tier 1. I just want to hear how big of a challenge you're expecting and the ways in which you're planning to... what's your strategy in terms of trying to be consistent and trying to be competitive in the top tier?
To be honest, my strategy is to survive, gain a couple of points, and survive best as possible. It's gonna be hard just to reckon, maybe go to Q3 in terms of quali on its own. It's gonna be a mission. So can you imagine with the race itself? So I'm just hoping for the best, hoping to get as many 1 points as possible, and then hopefully I'll stay safe and not go to playoffs.
Hopefully, indeed. We look forward to seeing you and watching you put on a heck of a show. Congratulations. And Tiago, we'll be seeing you in Tier 2. And who knows, perhaps in due time as well in the top tier. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We will see you next season as we look to hear who you will be paired with as we go on. Now, before we wrap up the stream, just catching up with the last of your comment section. Billy defending themselves through the account of Ruth. in the comment section. Estalo noting on some of the quick drivers that we're going to see next season. And as well, who was in the comment section? Sir Lancelot, thank you for your interactions. Man Ray as well, who joined the comment section, of course, after the race. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Of course, some of you commenting in this race for the first time. Let me see, Way. It was good to have you watching along. We do hope to see you next time out. Sir Lancelot as well in the BrakeAway Racing League stable. Thank you, everybody. That concludes the BrakeAway Racing League season. And we will soon, of course, be announcing the lineups for next season, which will begin in the early part of the new year. We do hope that you all have a safe and beautiful holiday season with your families, and to come back and join us safe and sound in 2024 and beyond. Billy still telling everybody to practice. That is the only way you can pull off this result in a track like this. He says, I missed Kendrick Lamar for this playoff series. And I'll tell you what, Billy Hendricks, with all these eyes watching you, they're going to be watching you in Qatar next season. But of course, Billy will be Billy and will put on a heck of a performance. Thank you, everybody. As Ban Kobe lays in on the comment section. But we will see you all next season. Thank you and good night.